Number one, if you're looking up here, you just have to type it in. I want your answer into 3 decimal places. 3 decimal places, remember you should know how to type it in. Number 2, you have to make sure you just do a rough sketch of that graph. Hey, no chatting.
You're right.
Okay, number 3, you have to write that back to exponential form. There's nothing to solve there because there's no variables. I just want you to write it in exponentials to avoid any problems. Number 4, you're writing it as a logarithm. Use circle method. 5, you're simplifying that problem. What? Let me just stop moving.
It's hacked.
No
It's
tap.
getting hacked.
Alright.
It's the Russians. I
It's
bet.
Russia.
Just stop.
Stop hacking.
Is that Vladimir I see up there?
Vladimir Putin.
No.
Alright. Okay. Alright. I'm just going to have to go off of this. I'm not going to use that, I guess. Alright. Anyway. 5. Simplify that thing down to your shortcuts for how to simplify and find answers on logarithms with, you should not need a calculator. 6 and 7, you should not need a calculator. 8, you're going to do circle method, bring it back to exponential, and then solve. That should be pretty straightforward. 9, you're going to expand that thing out. That radical is a cube root. Sorry, the Microsoft's cube roots always look weird. They put the 3 in a weird spot. They don't put it in like the little tail. Anyways, the base on that logarithm is a 5, so just be careful of that one, because the 5 always throws people off there. Alright, 10, you're going to combine that back down to one single logarithm. Make sure there's no leading coefficient or anything. 11 and 12 solve, there's some shortcuts for doing those. You can change the logarithms, you can do other things if you need to, or natural logs. 13 and 14, you want to try to solve, find x, and if x works, you don't need to plug it back in, but you need to reject the ones that don't make sense for the domain. 15, you have to show the work on those, and I have the formulas on there, you're only using the one formula. You're comparing which one would be the better one. They have different compounds, so one's, one length and one's the other length, so you have to plug in different numbers there, and they have different rates. Remember, the hint on number 15, the rate, make sure you're using the decimal form of it. Don't just write the number that they gave you for the rate, just, type in 7 or whatever it is, okay? Actually type it as a decimal when you're plugging into that formula. The back page, 16, you have to find the growth, like the growth percent, and then you have to use that for the second question. You should recognize these problems. 17, you got a half-life of a certain mineral there. Figure out the actual decay rate, and then once you have that rate, then you have to use it for the second part of the sentence that says you got to figure out when it reaches that certain percent. On that, number 17, my hint on those that I did in class when we did the practice guide day, just make up any amount that you want for the A of 0, but on the other side, you just have to make sure it's making the right amount. So it's like going to a certain percent, or going to a certain size, like half or whatnot.
That's you.
18, you have to figure out x. If you have a certain number of years there, read the directions. They tell you when you have to start and where you have to go.
Any hints?
And then on the second one, you have to solve. That bottom one will take you the most time. You'll probably need the most work or the most space for that bottom one, where it says the world's going to reach a certain population, because you have to actually solve for x. That'll probably be the one that takes you the longest out of this whole test. Will be that part. Because the other ones are actually, I think they're incredibly short, but it just depends. Maybe 15 will take a while because you have 2 problems to do there. But,
Any tips
18.
on number 18?
Which one will take us the least amount of time?
make sure you read the instructions and know what you're doing. What?
Which one will take the least amount of time?
One.
Will any of these the jam benefit me more?
Yes. Definitely save it for another week.
Okay.
We have 2 days,
Yes, you always have 2 days.
3 days?
No, we have lab section.